Welcome back to Let's Cruise. Discover the world of cruising with Enjoy the View Travel. Today, we start part three. All right, I know you have been waiting for this region, and it is Europe. Uh, Europe has become super popular. It is widely traveled, but the cruising opportunities in Europe have just become amazing, and you have lots of options. So, some of the most popular are the British Isles and the Mediterranean. Don't forget about Scandinavia, though. There are a lot of Scandinavian options as well for the cruises, but those are typically the top two that are booked most often. Not the only, but the top two. So you have lots of options when sailing the British Isles and the Mediterranean. I mean, lots and lots of options. I think I mentioned earlier about you have options sometimes for Mediterranean that are 7, 14, or 21 day, cruises. So you have not only destination options, but length options. If you can only go for a week, great. If you want to explore more and you can go for 3 weeks, that's even better. So you have those options. The other one that I have on here says transatlantic, and some of you may be wondering, what's that? So a transatlantic cruise is typically a repositioning cruise. Not always, but typically. There are some that are just transatlantic that go back and forth. But usually, if you're having a transatlantic cruise, it's going to be a ship that is repositioning for a season. They may be moving from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, but it's typically a repositioning cruise. But transatlantic means that it is a one-way cruise. And so it's either leaving like from the US and going across the Atlantic to somewhere in Europe, and then you're going to have to fly back, or vice versa. It could be leaving from Europe and going to the US. So maybe you fly over and take the transatlantic cruise back. They also have Trans-Pacific cruise. Obviously, those will not be going to Europe. They would be going more into the Pacific areas. So I think those would probably be going to more New Zealand, Australia, and those South Pacific options that we talked about earlier. So they do have Trans-Pacific cruises as well, and they would fall under the same category of typically being a repositioning cruise for a ship. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about is called back-to-back cruising. If you don't know what back-to-back cruising is, that basically means that you have booked yourself, for example, a 7 day cruise. And when that cruise ends, you're going to either stay on that ship for an additional 7 day cruise, or maybe you've worked it out to where you're getting off and getting onto another ship, but it's two back-to-back cruises. I have not had the opportunity yet to do a back-to-back cruise, but I plan to at some point. However, sometimes I've even seen people who do back-to-back-to-back, so they do 3 cruises. Um, and maybe it's because it's a ship that offers one itinerary one week and they offer a different itinerary the next week. And maybe they wanted to experience both itineraries. So that they have the opportunity to do that, then you can take a back to back. So back to back cruises are something that I did want to mention during destinations, because sometimes you're like, well, I wanted to take a longer cruise, but I can't find one that says, it's a 14-day cruise. Well, we can work around that, and you can schedule a back-to-back cruise. So I wanted to throw that out there in case you didn't know about back-to-back cruises. All right, we have one more area for ocean cruise destinations that I wanted to bring up and talk about briefly, and that is world cruises. If you are lucky enough to be able to go on a world cruise, I mean, I think that's pretty amazing. They typically will vary in length. They're usually 100+ days. They will have 40+ destinations with 20+ countries, and they usually come with a lot of perks. Um, if you are going on a world cruise. I don't know how many of you know, but currently, right now, there is the ultimate world cruise going on with Royal Caribbean, and it's like 9 months long. It's pretty amazing if you can go on a 9 month cruise. But my understanding is that it's done into like four different segments. So if you couldn't do all of the segments, maybe you could do some of them. Maybe you could join for part of it and do part of the ultimate world cruise. So there are some options if you can't, excuse me, if you can't make the whole 9 months. I mean, 9 months is a pretty big commitment to make for a cruise. But if you're also not following along, there are several different people who are doing YouTube video blogs um, from the cruise, from the Ultimate World Cruise. I have a couple, if you'd love suggestions on who to watch, who to follow, I have a couple that I'm watching. So I can definitely give you some information on that. But it's pretty cool. They're getting to go to a lot of the places that we have talked about today in the ocean destinations for cruising. So if you want any information on that, reach out to me. Let me know. I can help with that information as well. If you're interested in details about a world cruise, maybe that's something that you're wanting to think about coming up in the next couple of years. They're currently booking for 2024 through 2026 on most world cruises right now. So we could look in advance to kind of see what things are available. So just let me know if you would like information on world cruises. They do go to a lot of places, and I just can't imagine how much fun a 9 month cruise would be, right? Okay, so we are now wrapping up ocean destinations and we are getting ready to head into river cruise destinations. All right, so now that we have finished up the ocean cruising destinations, let's head over to river cruising destinations. If you've been hanging out with me for the last couple of months, you know that I've really gotten into river cruising. I've been talking about it quite a bit. I've been sharing videos and pictures and different things about river cruising. So, this is a very hot topic for me, and I hope that it's something that you're interested in as well. So, we're just going to start with the most popular. We're just going to head right into Europe river cruising. Um, so there's pretty much three main areas in Europe, what they call the heart of Europe. This is going to include a lot of cruises on the Rhine and the Danube. Those are two of the most popular. Lots and lots and lots of options. Probably 15 to 20 different cruise options in what they consider the heart of Europe. There are also a couple of options in Portugal and also a couple of options in France. But most of it will include the heart of Europe. Now, sometimes the locations in the heart of Europe, because they cover so many areas, will also include Portugal and France in there. But there are some that are strictly Portugal if you'd like to do that, or strictly France if you'd like to do that. So Europe is hot, hot, hot for river cruises. Uh, Probably their biggest market. So you want to make sure you book early because remember, smaller ships, less rooms. So you want to make sure that you book early for European river cruises for sure. All right, so let's talk about U.S. river cruises. Right now, we're kind of limited on where you can cruise in the U.S. for river cruises, mainly the Mississippi, but not just the Mississippi. And really, you're limited on who you can cruise with. Viking is now doing some Mississippi river cruises. And it looks like they're starting to pick up and do a few more. So that and they've just entered this market recently, so it must be doing well because we're seeing some more options offered on that. But currently, they're only doing the Mississippi River cruises, so you can visit places like New Orleans, Memphis, St. Louis, St. Paul. Those are some of the options that you have to visit. American Cruise Lines is another one that is doing U.S. river cruises. They do offer some more options. I can't see my options. My little recording thing is covering up my options down there, but you'll be able to see them on the bottom, the different options that they offer. I do know the Columbia and the Snake River. Obviously, they also do Mississippi River cruises. They offer some New England options, the Southeast, I believe Alaska, and they have some national park options that would allow you to get off and do some excursions at some of the national parks. So, if you're looking at any of those options, they would be good to look at. There are a couple of other American cruise lines that do river cruises. However, we are currently not partnering with one of them. We've had some issues come up here lately with them as far as changing destinations, and some things on the business side of it. And so right now, um, the two that I'm working with are Viking and American Cruise Lines for river cruises here in the US. So again, remember smaller ships. They book up a little bit faster. And I know that we've talked about this before, but river cruising is a little bit more expensive than ocean cruising. And one of those reasons is it's a smaller boat, so it's less passengers. So you have to take that into consideration. So, because I know for a lot of people, budget is definitely one of the first things that you have to think about with your trips. So, I'm very interested in getting into the river cruise part of it, and so I may start with one here in the U.S. because it's easier for us to get to. I will definitely keep you up to date on that information. But that is some U.S. river cruise options. We just talked about the European cruise options before, and I didn't mention the main cruise lines that we work with for that. And right now, that is Viking and Emma Waterways. So we do have those two. There are others that we do work with, but those right now seem to be the two most popular um, and the best to work with as far as options. Um, and so, yeah, those are some things for you to keep in mind and consider when we're talking about river cruising. We're not done yet. We have a couple more things to talk about in our next couple of slides. So stick around because we're going to talk about themes and some specialty options coming up next. All right, specialty river cruises. There are a couple of places that river cruising does go kind of a specialty area. They may only offer like one option, one of those being Asia. Another of those being Egypt. There is one option to both of those areas, as well as the Africa Safari and Wildlife River Cruise. There's just one option for that. And then they also offer some specialty cruises, like cruising during tulip season, and wine river cruises. And they also have some golf cruises. So if you are an avid golfer, you might want to consider their golf options so that when you get off, your excursion would be going to a golf course in the area and playing golf instead of some of the other excursions that some of the other passengers might be going on. So something for you to think about. If you're a wine lover, I would imagine that you have some of the best options in wine on the wine cruise. So that would be something interesting for you to do. So don't forget about specialty areas. I know we tend to talk about the European market mostly when we're talking about river cruising, but we do have, some in the US. And then we have some more that are a little bit more limited in those specialty areas and some themes. Our last one that we're going to talk about, my favorite theme, is coming up next. All right, we have made it to our last river cruise destination discussion, and that is Christmas Market River Cruises. If you've been following me um, the last couple of months, you know I've kind of been kind of obsessed with the Christmas Market River Cruises. I've watched a lot on YouTube. I mean, I'm just intrigued by it. I'm so ready to go. I'm thinking about doing this in 2025, maybe. Um, so we'll see. We'll see when that happens. But a couple of things that I want you to think about for the river cruises is they're super popular and they fill up quickly. They are booked well in advance. So you want to really keep that in mind if you're thinking about one and when you might want to go. Um, you will typically get to do some kind of an excursion that lets you visit that area, um, and then you will stop at the Christmas market on the way back. Now, you also have the options of if you don't want to do the included excursion, you can just go hang out at the Christmas markets all day. You have that option as well. But typically, they'll give you two, maybe three options for an excursion and then come back and be at the Christmas markets for a particular period of time before the ship leaves. So those are some things for you to think about. Also, pre and post cruise extensions. Those are basically where you can come in 2 to 3 days early or stay 2 to 3 days late and experience that area that you're either cruising out of or cruising into. So think about that. That's something else that you can add on to that. Also, think about the season. Okay, it's Christmas. Even Christmas over in Europe is typically cold. So if you're someone who doesn't particularly like the cold, maybe a Christmas market river cruise isn't for you. But I just want you to know that it is typically cold and sometimes it snows. Okay. So I just want you to have all of that information up front before it's something that you decide on. So having all of that information, um, Christmas markets are really something that I'm in on. I want to do those pretty quickly. So here's some information on that. I'd love to put together a group river cruise. That would be so fun. I don't know if any of you would be interested in that. If you are, reach out to me and I can get some details together for that within the next couple of years. I said 2025. I think I meant 2028 because I think in 2028 is when I turn 50, and I thought that would be a pretty awesome um, thing to do. Anyway, in the next couple of years, it's something I would definitely like to do. So if Christmas market river cruises, excuse me, are on your bucket list, definitely get with me and we can discuss it some more. Okay. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed our topic on destinations. I do want to do one little thing before we leave today because it's really come up lately, and that is security. Okay. Um, I know that the Bahamas is a popular Caribbean destination, and here recently we have had an upgrade to a level 2 on the security from the national government of watch yourself when you're traveling, kind of thing. And I just want to remind you that it's always important to do your research about any location and destination and about the safety concerns that might be in that country or city. So always do that. Always take that to heart. And know that when you're on a cruise, if the cruise line feels like the threat level is higher and that their passengers are not going to be safe, that they will make the decision to skip that port. It's been done in the past. In fact, I think it was just recently done on one of the world cruises here in the last week or two. So they will make that decision to cancel a port and you'll just have an extra sea day. So, I mean, keep that in mind that when you are cruising, they are always going to take the latest updates and considerations for your safety. And know that they take it very seriously if they have to cancel a port, and that if they've had to do that, that it is in some way for your safety, whether it's weather-wise, because of rough weather, or whether it is safety concerns about security. So please, think about that, take that in heart, and keep that in mind when you are cruising. If you have any questions about any of these destinations, please let me know. And we look forward to seeing you for part 4 of Let's Cruise. Until next time, enjoy the view.